With the launch sequence complete, we're now ready to move on to the next stage. Now the next stage is called the media process stage, and this is a two-step process. The first step is to render a project called the biometric scanner into an MPEG-4 file. I will analyze that MPEG-4 file to see if it conforms to the standards and meets my requirements. Now if it passes, I'll then do the project that was loaded at the end of the launch sequence, which is the game anime. So let's look at the media process screen, because there are quite a few monitor applications to help me understand how efficient this editor is with the resources. The first is obvious, is to look at the CPU. Now the CPU is an i7. The i7 is a quad core. Each core has 2 threads. A thread is known as a logical CPU. So I want to see the load spread evenly across these 8 logical CPUs. Now if it uses the GPU, which I believe it is going to use the HD4000, then I want to see a load registered here, and I would like to see a drop in the actual logical CPU. So that's confirming I've set it to the HD4000 graphics, which is built inside the i7. This graph is going to show me the summation of the thread usage and this one of the total CPU usage. This can help me visualize or gauge how much resource is being used. This executive dashboard is really there to show me if a bottleneck occurs and what caused that bottleneck. Also, it can tell me what was loaded on the CPU at any one time, and it gives me a very quick view of the percentage of CPU over GPU. And of course, let's not forget, the star of the show is always the editor, in this case Lightworks. So you start the media process by going to the sidebar and you click the bottom icon, the one with the yellow arrow. You can drop it into the timeline or the previewer, or just click it. Either way, you get this here dialog. Now this dialog is not exactly complex, and in fact I think it's too primitive and too limiting. But the default format for MPEG-4 is what it calls YouTube. So this is the way it sees MPEG-4 for broadcasting on YouTube, when it should be for web or anything, and it should be allowed to do in HD. Now, who in their right mind is going to want to upload to YouTube without doing some form of proofreading of a document? And you will need the HRD data, and you're not even doing that. So it is not a good option to upload immediately to YouTube, especially if you want to do a quality product. You need to check it first. This is the folder and the name that you're going to give it. So as you can see, the whole of the workflow is nice, but it's too simple. Here we go, we hit the start. Now what I do like, and again it's one of these very nice innovations that this particular application has, it's just littered with great ideas, is when you hit the start process. Now the batching is by default what it does, so it puts it into here, but if you click the actual icon it will come out. Now it's okay for this, but if you really are in a professional environment, you might want to do a quick, I need this done now, so why can't you throttle this up? And it doesn't really use the GPU properly, and you don't have the sort of time frame. You can't schedule things here. If you have a big project, you really want to know how long it's going to take so as you can manage your resources and your time. That said, and off the soapbox, here is the rendering process being viewed, and you get this at the end. I'm not too enamored by the way this process is done. I like some of the workflow, but not all of it. Analysis of the file, it passed, and I need to go in this in more detail later, but it was so much slower than Movie Edit Pro. It was around 30 to 40 seconds, but I couldn't say exactly because it doesn't give you the time. I had to look at other things to find out how long it took. Here I am now rendering the actual game anime. Again, as you can see, it's an easy process. I will not reiterate my thoughts about this part of the process or the workflow. I do think that people that are so innovative in the editor, it seems to me they've neglected the actual process of a product and the person whose desire on the quality they want for the product, because they fixed it for you, and it's not always a good solution. But anyway, you could see me going through the whole process. You could see that the logical CPUs are really being hammered. It is using the HD 4000, but I don't know how effective it's using it. It's nice to see that this is actually using the resources to some degree, but it's not as efficient as I would like it to be. And I will emphasize that is my considered opinion. I just think too many things are put in the back burner. Now you just might have noticed the IO operations have increased, so that's a good indicator it's come to the end of rendering. And it's no surprise to me that it passed, and the reason being is when I first did this test it was on the 11.5 because that was the published edition, and that one failed on the HRD test. I got in touch with their technical support. Their technical support got back within 48 hours. And they asked 1 or 2 questions about main concept, so I gave them more data. 1 month later they came back and said try out the beta, and lo and behold, you can see it passed. And for me, this is an affirmation why a company needs a good technical support, and make it advertised, make it blazon. Now Editshare actually do offer their technical support as a service because of the way their cost model works on the product, which is a good one. To me, technical support, brilliant. Media process, not so much. It's only worthy of 3 stars because it's far too simple. The developers, in their attempt to make it easier for video editors, have forgotten that you do need to be able to control the group of picture pattern every now and then, because you want to make something to the quality you need to make it to, and you don't always use the YouTube, and you might want to do better quality. But even that being said, your presets do not do the top end of the quality that you should be able to do on YouTube. Technical support, without doubt, brilliant, great ambassadors for the company. If I was going professional, I'd be seriously looking at these guys because I'll know I'll get value for money. But all the innovation to me has gone into the editor. Zero innovation has gone into the media process, which is sad. Hollywood strength video editor, not so much with the actual media process.